Hey, beautiful soul. Before we jump into the episode, I want to know, did you know that I have a completely free virtual new moon circle called Co-Create every single month? This stemmed out of a constant request for a space or a church that taught so many different spiritual modalities, tools, systems, beliefs, and I didn't have any place to send them. So I created it. In Co-Create, this is the space that I want to bring to you to learn how to create a connection to yourself, your energetics, and the divine in a community that won't make you feel like a weirdo. A space where you can ask any question you want, where we get to dive into so many systems and beliefs and tools, and you get to pick and choose what feels good for you. So you can learn what it means to truly co-create with the universe, God, source, for flow, trust, and surrender, to connect with other women who are spiritually curious in a space that's safe, sacred, and inspirational. It's your space for you to find your people and lean into new spiritual practices to truly co create with the universe or God or source or whoever you feel connected to. You'll gain tools and knowledge to understand what it really means to lean into the universal laws and become magnetic, all while being held by massive feminine energy. I've been hosting these free new moon circles for almost a year now, and it's definitely one of my most sacred spaces, and it's completely free for you every single month. Diana said that she made a promise to herself that she would work on her personal development and growth journey earlier in 2024. So I reached out to her and asked her for a testimonial to share with us. And what she said was Adriana's membership community and Co-Create has accelerated that and more. I have had multiple breakthroughs from finding a new career path, improving my mental health by reducing my anxiety and depression through journaling, meditation, and breath work, improving my physical health, doing walking meditations are my jam, strengthening my marriage and relationships, improving my money mindset, and just setting up a routine that complements my design. I've learned to embrace challenges as a sign of growth. I will continuously do my best to be in harmony with myself, with this world, and the universe. I have never felt so seen, heard, safe, and supported. Her community and Co-Create has helped me connect to my true authentic self, to move with grace and intention, to embrace everyone's uniqueness. And we each have a special gift and are collectively part of this world to show and share it this way. Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing all of your reflections and how Co-Create and my community has changed your life. And now I want to share it with everyone else. The link to register is in the show notes below. Even if you register for 1 month, you will automatically be signed up to be able to join every single month for as long as you're on the list. So you don't have to repeat it every month. You will always get on the list. You will always have the Zoom link available. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Now enjoy the episode. Welcome to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I'm Adriana Keefe, human design coach and motivational speaker. I went through my quarter life crisis in my 20s and had to learn how to navigate through finding what I was meant to be doing with my life. I refused to believe in the culture that said we were all meant to have the same path and boring careers until we retire and die. And along my journey, I found human design, a system that reveals your energetic blueprint, showing you where and how to access your body's consciousness and how to live as your true self. Human design changed my life, so I started sharing it with others and changing their lives, but we were all finding the same problem: a lack of resources that explain the system in easy and useful ways. So I created this show where we dive deep into the lessons of the human design system without the BS and the noise you find on the internet. Listen in for lessons in human design, finding your purpose, manifestation and spiritual practices, human design within business, and so much more. We connect with other experts in the human design and spiritual realm in a refreshingly honest way to help you find your way along your spiritual path and live this life with intention. It's time to let go of the societal expectations of being and let yourself find abundance through being uniquely you. Let's get started. Okay, I am so excited for this conversation. It's been literally, how long ago was March? 9 months ago?
Yeah, it's
We're
a
just
bit
giving birth. We literally,
weird.
That did not dawn on me until right now. We have been forming this baby. I mean, a lot of me, but you guys helped me conceive the baby, and now we are giving birth. So, what a full fucking circle moment. Thank you guys so much for being here. There is no better conversation I'd want to have on today when I'm launching for the first time a not just a community, but also an entire company brand that I am now stepping forward and like standing behind, which I always said I would never ever put like a brand or company title to anything I did, and here we are. So this is like a really big up level for me, and I had to ask you guys to come on and have a conversation about this because when, well, quick backstory before we have you guys introduce yourselves for our listeners. Mariah helped me understand what the name of this community was going to be. We dissected pieces of my human design chart and then bounced back and forth off each other and then eventually channeled the name. And I was just
Do
like,
you remember what the other names were? Because I remember you saying them, and I was like, no, no. I'm like, this isn't even my business. And I'm like, no, that's not it. No,
I
that's not it.
don't. I don't. I remember the one that we haven't said the name out loud yet, so I'm
Oh,
gonna wait, but
oh.
today it's launching, so today we can. Yes. Okay. So I remember I don't remember the first ones, but one of them I sent to you was like the keywords were magnetic and rebel because they're in my chart. And so I was like the magnetic rebel, and you're like, yeah, dude, but it's like a movement, the magnetic rebellion. And at first, my gut was like, that feels too big. And I actually, my emotional authority had to sleep on it. And then I was like, oh my God, that's it. Like when you said it's a movement, I was like, ooh, I guess I was afraid to like step into something that felt so big. But I don't remember any names before that. Why do you?
No, I was just wondering if you did.
No.
Well, I'm sitting here laughing because Mariah was the one that chose our podcast name as well. And I remember we had like a Google Doc maybe of like
Yeah.
tons and tons of ideas. And you just had that one immediately. And we kept trying to like disprove it almost. And we just
Yeah.
kept coming back like, no, that's it. So Mariah,
Like,
maybe you have
can't
like
do that.
another career in naming.
I
Seriously.
I literally woke up one day and I was like, I feel like our podcast should be like curiously guided. And then I was like, but
She
is
makes
that
sense.
dumb? Tell me it's stupid. And then we kept coming up. And then I guess I felt like guilty for like figuring out the name. And I was like, well, you come up with a name. And she was like, kind of like curiously guided. And I was like, is that what we are? Is that what we do? And I was like, so we would just say it to each other for like a month or two before. And I was like, I think this is it. And I feel
Mhm.
like once you say it, like the magnetic rebellion, I remember saying that to you. And I literally was like, I don't know if she's gonna say yes, but I feel like she should because it sounds really good.
Yeah. And I was like not super against, but I was like, ooh, that just feels too big. And it was like a couple days, like 2 to 3 days later, when I was like, oh fuck, she's right. Like that's what I want is like a movement. And I feel like, yes, I agree. Curiously Guided is like the best name that you guys could have had because that's what it is, right? It's like for curious, spiritually curious people. So yes.
Well,
And
I think like when we talked last, when we consummated this idea, the idea of rebellion, like really for me as like a person in the world, if I were to see that, that always draws my attention. I like that idea. So I think it's always good when a name can kind of do the work for you in a way.
mm,
And we've had that with the podcast name. Like we'll have guests be like, I just had to hear the name and I was going to come on. So I think the program, like the name is perfect for like sparking that curiosity about the program.
yes, thank you. And you're right. It felt powerful, and I like it took me a minute to step into that power, I think is really what it was. So yeah, we worked on that. Mariah helped me channel the name, and then I was like, "Do you and Shay want to come on like a call with me and just like I don't understand what I'm doing." And you guys so beautifully helped me understand exactly what this community was that I was trying to birth, and I was too close to it. And then everything you reflected back to me, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm onto something. Like this is very needed." So for our listeners, this is why you guys are here today on a very special day. Thank you so much for being here with me and for all of your help in between. I would love for you to introduce yourselves. Of course, everyone wants to hear your human design, maybe your top three in astrology, if you would like to share, and a little bit about you. Mariah, you want to go first?
Sure. So yeah, human design. I am a 1-3 sacral generator. The big three, I'm a Cancer sun, Sagittarius rising, and a Pisces moon. And basically, so what I do, it's funny because like a lot of the conversations that we have like on our podcast, Curiously Guided and stuff like that, it's like super like spiritual leaning essentially. But like what I do is search engine optimization and like strategy and education. And so like I really love hanging out in the fucking strategy world of like seeing data and analyzing and making decisions for my business and stuff like that. So yeah, it's funny because like learning human design really shifted the way that I look at my business and how I offer things and like really validated what I do and how I do it and what my zone of genius is, especially in my industry, an industry filled with like lack of transparency and like a lot of fearful marketing and stuff like that. So, yeah, I feel like my zone of genius is really being able to like break down complex things into easy to understand ways.
I know it's so interesting. You feel so line five to me. Do you have like a lot of line fives in your chart?
It's funny because yeah, mo like if you look at my aura, it's like line five.
Mm,
It's mostly line fives on my chart.
that makes sense. I wonder if that has to do with like the quick practical naming too. Interesting.
What about Adriana? I'm curious, what about her makes like line five jump out to you?
Because she feels so practical and to the point and like systematized. Like, and especially, do you have a defined ajna, Mariah?
No, she's
No.
open as fuck.
Same, completely open. I'm just like trying to place like the simplicity in the names, but you also said like she just had like the most simple, straightforward approach to like naming, and I was like, that feels line five. So like the explanations you give, practical, yeah, that's what I get from her. You feel that too, Shay?
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
Cool.
Oh yeah, I gotta introduce myself. Okay.
Yes, hi.
My name is Shay Schindler. I'm an online sales consultant. And so what I do is I join like online businesses and help them build out sales systems and do sales for them. So that's my day job. I also have a budding side hustle of finding vintage things and flipping them online, which Mariah and I have been sharing a bit about this season. That's kind of been giving me joy lately in my career. So my I'm all water. So I'm Pisces is my main sign, sun sign, rising is Cancer, and then I'm Scorpio moon. And then for human design, I'm a 2/4 projector. So that's hermit opportunist.
That's a lot of water. Do you feel like, and I say this because I say this as just is, but society makes it feel like it's a bad thing. Like, do you feel really sensitive, like a highly sensitive being?
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. It's wild. And I think that, we get into gene keys a little bit with human design. And one of the things that always comes through with gene keys is like my role in this world is to like give grace to others, but like mostly to myself. So I think that's been my big like hero's journey is like navigating all these feelings and like how to have grace with myself like throughout the process.
That's so cool. And I love that you're leaning into your inner Joanna Gaines and you're doing fixer-upper stuff. If anyone doesn't see on YouTube, she looks like Joanna Gaines. So I just had to point that out.
I always love it when it's weird. I think about that all the time. I even had her come up. She has like a new master class, and I was just like, oh, I just love that people associate with me with
Yes.
her.
Yes. And she has that feeling of grace too. I actually don't know her astrology. I'm
That
curious.
would be interesting. Mariah's got me into that. This is a derailment, but Mariah's got me into color design. And so I was trying to figure out her color profiles
Yep.
because I think we are similar. And you can't find anything because she's a designer. But anyway, thank you. You always make me feel wonderful.
You're welcome. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. And then you guys have the podcast called Curiously Guided because, okay, wait, this is an assumption, but I think you've probably also told me this. You were both feeling really spiritually curious and you wanted to offer the same tools to other people in the world who were feeling that way, right?
It was kind of like, so me and Shay met in 2020 when the world was fucking burning down from the inside out. And I feel like both of us kept hitting this wall of just like growing our businesses solo. And like people weren't really sharing transparent conversations that combine strategy and energetics in a way that like combines the inner work and the outer work. Like the conversations in the business world at the time were very like, make 10K months, buy a private island, go buy a yacht. Like we're gonna keep grinding and hustling. And I have a team of 475 and like I'm working on the beach. And we were like, yeah, but how do you feel, girl? And
Hmm.
so like we were just curious about the real journey that I feel like people were afraid to share on Instagram. And so like me and Shay were having transparent conversations where we're fucking crying to each other on Voxer. And we're just like, I feel like other people need to hear these conversations, or I feel like people are craving these conversations because we can't be the only ones. So we tossed around the idea of a podcast. And both of, I don't want to say that we like hated it at first, but both of us were very resistant. We've been in like partnerships in business previously that were kind of awful and traumatizing. And so we were like, yeah, I don't know if we want to come together and like make this commitment. And so we really thought about it, I think solidly for like 6 to 9 months, playing around with the idea of it. But we were just hopping on coffee chats every week or voxering each other literally left and right. And we were like, I think we have a lot to say. And so it's like, yeah, I think we naturally combine spirituality and energetics with like business and strategy. But it's we've tossed around the idea of spirituality so often and we have different thoughts on it. But I feel like that comes through because of who we are and how we see the world, but less of like, this is the mask that we want to give the podcast. Does that make sense? Shay, am I missing
Mhm.
anything?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Adriana, I like what you said about emotions. I think that was what Mariah and I were hungry for, was like there was nobody really talking about navigating the emotions of running an online business or any business. Everyone will say it's the hardest personal development journey you could ever have, but like no one was really being honest about. I was waking up every morning with like sweaty palms, like freaking out, worried about money in the beginning. Like it was really hard for me mentally. I had a lot of emotions to deal with, and I was trying to do this brand new thing. So I think that having Mariah to talk to through that, we were kind of like, we can't be alone in this. There has to be other people, all of us. And through those, so we started interviewing business owners, and through those conversations, we realized, oh, the people we really get lit up with are the ones that are connecting spirit with their work or their business.
Mhm.
So people that are filling their cup up every single day, they have some kind of connection to source. They feel like what they are doing is important. We had one guest this season talk about like co-creating the internet and like how meaningful that was for his life. And I was just like, oh my God. So that kind of like connection with spirit and like your career and business has really been kind of the through line that carries the podcast on.
I love it. I love the era that we're in where not just business owners, but everyone, women especially, we're just like awakening. We're like, no, we don't know. Like the societal norms are not going to be our normal. And you guys coming together literally points out the biggest reason behind why the communities like the Magnetic Rebellion are so important. You guys are literally saying that like you leaned on each other. I asked you even like before this call like where you go for like some sort of spiritual or like whoever you need to, and you're like I lean on Shay. Like this, we need this community. And that's what people were asking me for that I didn't really have an answer to. I had Human Design Society, but it was a little bit, or I should say, I still have it. It's still in the Magnetic Rebellion, but it was a little like I didn't want people who weren't interested in human design to feel like they'd get nothing out of it. Wait, did that make sense? I wanted it to be more expansive. And people kept asking me for literally like spiritual churches or where they could go to learn more of these tools and these systems and these beliefs and things like energetics and the universal laws. And I had nowhere to point them to. Even with talking to you guys later, there was like, I think one potential program that you had heard of in the past, but it was like more of a program than it was a membership community. So that's really when I realized like this, like you said, it is like a movement. This is the era that we are in. Every time I say era, I think of Taylor Swift, and I'm not even like a Swiftie, but my kids are. But this is what we're in right now. Like we need to grow. We are understanding that spirituality and energetics play a huge role in us getting anywhere in life. And then we shed relationships, we shed the lives that we had, and it's hard if you're alone. And so then that's really what the whole goal is behind the Magnetic Rebellion, but I didn't really understand how to put that together. So I'm looking at the notes that we took when we were on our call trying to dissect this, and one of you said like defining church for themselves, like defining spirituality for themselves and a church for the spiritually curious. And I was like, that's fucking epic. Like, what comes up when I say that to you guys?
I think that was me. Is that your memory, Mariah? I grew up in a really strict Christian background, and I kind of rebelled against that in my adult life. And as I've kind of been growing my spirituality, I've realized church is really powerful and important, especially that community aspect you meant, Adriana. But I was not interested in the church that I grew up with as a kid. So I had someone kind of challenge me, like, well, church can mean anything you want it to mean. Like, what does church look like for you? You know, and even like daily, if you grew up in the church, you have this like daily practice of connecting with God, like that idea of connecting with spirit daily. Are you making space for that? Like, there's a lot of really awesome, good life things in there. And I had thrown the baby out with the bathwater. So I think me, part of my healing journey has been figuring out how now do I connect with spirit in my way. And what is church for me, on a day-to-day basis?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what we're seeing is like faith deconstruction. Even if you grew up with a religion, you're like, this doesn't fit entirely. I still believe in this, or I believe in God, or whatever. But like, I don't agree with all of this religion as a whole. And not to say that the Magnetic Rebellion is religious. It's not. I wouldn't put it in that category, but it also could be if you wanted it to be, because it's your religion. It's what you get to decide that you resonate with. Mariah, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I feel like in society, a lot of us are missing a connection to faith. Because for that same reason, it's like we've been told what to believe, how to believe it, and like when to believe it, where we have to be, and how it has to look. And I think as humans, living in such a fucking chaotic world that is surrounded with like so much beauty and so much despair, in order to go ahead and to balance both of those, we have to have a through line of faith. We have to. And I feel like knowing that you can create that for yourself is like what gives you the confidence to keep moving forward. Like me, if I think about like me at my lowest, it's like the only thing that like makes me get up and take action is like my faith that it could get better. My faith in something bigger than myself, because like we're all so individualistic growing up, like even like literally like in separate houses where, back in the tribal days, like we were living in fucking tents together. You know what I mean? Like hanging out on the daily. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that I am not living with a shit ton of people, but it's like we're so individualistic that I feel like we miss that connection to something greater when really that's like the whole purpose is something greater. And like that's what moves you, especially as a business owner, because like as a business owner, you're consistently put up against things that like you don't know how to handle. And like what's going to get you through that? It's going to be your purpose and like your faith in something bigger than yourself. Truly, like I'll say until the cows come home, like money's not deep enough for me. Don't get me wrong, we need money in order to survive, but like what really moves me forward is like knowing that I am being of service and like walking in my purpose. And if I'm not, then I'm getting closer to whatever that is. But it's like, yeah, I think that developing a faith in something outside of yourself is like what keeps you grounded and what keeps you optimistic and like what keeps you moving towards it. And like that's what you need when you're a fucking business owner.
Ooh. It's so funny that you mentioned that with the money because just this morning I was going through my year and like tying up loose ends and prepping for the next year to come. And I opened it's like a manifestation box that I had under my bed because I can't have it in my view. I need to like let it go. And I did it 2 years ago. And I opened up the letters and stuff, and there was so much focus on like the money I was bringing in. And I looked at it and I just like laughed at like younger me. Even though that was 2 years ago, I was like, girl, you have no idea the lives that you are changing and the impact that you're making. The money literally means nothing to me anymore. It's that trust muscle that I've built through this work, through all of these tools and these systems that I want people to have access to, that I understand that everything will be taken care of for me when I just like step into my highest power. And so it's funny that you mentioned that because I was like, that was literally me this morning, being like, oh, little old me, thinking money was actually like the big thing that I had to go after.
Yeah,
I
and I
I
think, yeah, money is like it's important because we live in a society where we fucking need money to operate. Do you know what I mean? Like I need a roof over my head. I have to pay for rent. I have to pay for shit. But it's like if you're, I think there's like a caveat needed here. Like if your basic needs are met, then I think you can have the peace and the space to dive deeper into the other parts that can connect you and kind of like build the momentum. Because I don't know about anybody else, but like if I would have made a fuck ton of money in the first version of my business, I would have not felt uncomfortable enough to go ahead and keep iterating. And then I wouldn't be where I am today. You know what I mean? So it's like there's different perspectives of it. But Shay, did you have something to say?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the idea of like trust in yourself. I think that I was kind of wondering like where does our all three of us love human design and we love to use all these tools, astrology to reflect. And I was like, where does that tie in? But it's really that like where is my zone of genius? Where are my spiritual gifts and how am I meant to show up? And I love what you said, Adriana, about like when you are showing up in those gifts, that's when all of a sudden flow happens and you don't, it's not about the money anymore. It's about you're here doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is really how do we get there? Trust in ourselves. And I think that kind of comes through all of this. I know spirituality, I even did it there, like spirituality and religion and faith, it all kind of gets tossed together. And I have like weird associations, but I really liked what you said about like the secret sauce to all of this is like, how can you trust yourself? And we do that through this kind of being in community, all of these tools we have.
That's literally like at the most foundational level. That's what I want for people with the magnetic rebellion is a place to land and know they feel safe and held in not only understanding what their gifts are with all the tools that will be available for them, but being able to actually bring those parts of them forward in life, which is probably the hardest part to be able to like step into that version of you. Mariah's face, she's like, woof. And to actually feel seen and safe. And that community, I don't know that you can really do that well in a short time period, at least, without having a community or people to reflect that back to you.
I think we grow deepest in relationships with other people. You can only grow so far looking at yourself in the mirror. You can only have so much awareness because, yeah, and it's like, it's funny because you're like, yeah, it's about bringing your gifts forward and being seen in it. And that was fucking horrifying to me, like literally horrifying. That's how me and Shay met was like an online community where they combined like the being and like the human part of things. So like combining the strategy and business with the energetics and stuff like that. And I remember in that space, that was in a time in my life when I was like horrified to cry in front of people. And then here I am on a call in front of 15 people that I have never met in person, bawling my eyes out. And I'm just like, and everybody's staring at me. And then it's like, and I'm literally like ripping open my chest and showing my heart. And it was awful and also extremely needed. But like, I think that community and relationships, it's almost nearly impossible, like I said, to kind of grow to the level that we want to grow by ourselves, but also like how cool to realize that like you have a space to ask people questions and they're not going to think you're a fucking Looney Tune. Like, who am I going to ask about human design in my real life, respectfully? Like, I only have like one, maybe two friends that are really deep into it. But I'm the deepest one in here. So, like, who am I asking all of my deep questions to? Do
That's
you know what
literally
I
how you and I like truly bonded. You were like, I
Yes.
do SEO. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then you were like, but human design. And I was like, what? I was like, you're a keeper.
Yeah, dude. Like without community, I feel like everything just takes longer and it's less enjoyable. Isn't it so much more fun to like cry with friends than it is alone? Don't get me wrong. I have a Cancer sun and like a Pisces moon, and I would much rather like cry alone. But like sometimes it's just cool to like, when I'm done crying, be able to Vox or one of my friends or show up on a call and just be like, dude, can you just reflect back to me that like I'm a normal human and like this shit's gonna pass and like I'll be okay. And like it's just so comforting. And then you feel safe enough to be able to dive even more deeper into like your own self-awareness.
You are bringing this like right back to something that you guys actually said, according to my notes. I actually think this was another Shay thing. Magic in the mundane. No, that was a Mariah thing. Magic in the mundane. Like That's what I feel when you're talking about that. Having those safe places to land, having the relationships, the connections, the information available for you to understand that like every day could feel like magic to you. Your everyday, and this is what I think really irks me about like the manifestation and all of that. They think about like manifesting so much money and these dream houses and all of that, but manifestation is literally you in every single moment, like bringing your thoughts into your reality. And what if you made that so magical on such a simple everyday level that it became like second nature to you? That you didn't have to go so completely out of your way to visualize and call in things. And some people, that's actually really good for them, but that's not for everyone. And I feel like I did all of that manifestation stuff for like years. And it wasn't until I really integrated back into like being who I'm designed to be and I started following the breadcrumbs of the things that I felt really drawn to that things were just easier. And I got things that I wanted to receive without having to truly, I don't want to say focus on them, but like obsess over them. Like I just think that magic is already there within you every single day when you have the tools and you have the support and all of that. So it's funny, I didn't think about magic and the mundane in that way until you just explained like the everyday cry sessions or like whatever it is you need.
I just want to reflect back that the idea that like manifestation happens in every moment is very powerful. Like I love that bringing it back to presence and just
It's
like
either powerful or fucking horrifying. You're just like, oh fuck, no, not today. I don't want to manifest jack shit. Leave me alone.
Yep, yep. But that's what mainstream manifestation stuff makes us think, right? That if we say something negative, then we're calling that in. And I don't believe that to be true. You know, we everything that we truly feel about ourselves subconsciously is where we start to actually call things in. So it's like an everyday level of self-worth that you can get to through healing. Like these tools have literally healed me. Before I knew human design and nervous system work and all of like tapping, I was almost checked into a mental institution on multiple occasions for my complex PTSD. And this stuff has literally healed me. And it's just, that's magic in the mundane too. Being able to walk around as a healed human being. I mean, we're forever healing, right? But like more healed human being. I love that so much.
well, let me share a personal story that happened yesterday about this. It's cool to notice growth in that way,
Mhm.
Adriana. Like, I know you can only see it like looking back, but you're just like, old me could not have done this. Yesterday, I really messed up. I don't know if we cuss on this. We don't, right? I
Oh, no,
messed
we
up.
do. We very much
Okay.
do. Yes.
I fucked up yesterday. We're in Mercury retrograde. I missed Mariah and I had a guest podcast recording and I totally missed it. And old Shay like really would have like whipped myself all day and night long. I felt so shit about it. Like that just like was on me and I felt like hell. And yesterday I really tried to practice. I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, like it's over, it's done with. Like what could you do to be better?" But then I really was like, and we stopped thinking about it here. And I it was cool to notice like old me would have been waking up in the middle of the night, sweaty palms, worried about all of this stuff, how shit I am in a deep spiral. And so just those moments of like catching yourself right before you're about to go into an old pattern and noticing that you're acting different, like that is magic in the mundane. Like and I think that's where it all happens. So I'm there with you. I really resonate.
That's
It's
so
so
true.
it's so funny because me and Shay haven't talked about this. Just so you know, from my perspective, literally you were like, hey dude, totally didn't get on my calendar. Not gonna make it. I feel really bad. I'm really sorry. And I was li like neutral as fuck. I was like, cool. I messaged the guest and he was like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, so sorry, didn't get on Shay's calendar, LOL. Like, can we reschedule? And he was like, yeah, I'll let you know a couple dates. And I'm like, cool, you're an angel. Have a blessed day. And he was like, cool. And then we both like went on our merry way. So if I would have found out that you were beating yourself over the head with a brick, I would have been like legitimately mad at you.
Well, you sent me an emoji, so that made me be like, okay, she's not mad. But also our guest was a is an angel, so that was nice too. But yeah, it's just cool to like giving grace, like I mentioned earlier, like that's been a big exercise for me and like learning to trust myself and like, and if you fuck up, it's okay. We're all human. I deal with a lot of like perfectionist type stuff. So, and it's nice to have like graceful friends that don't beat me up more than I do myself.
And what I feel like I'm getting from that is there was probably something yesterday that your energy just simply could not take on a guest conversation and it just protected you in that moment. You know, it's always for like a higher reason. We don't know why, but maybe you just couldn't do it today or yesterday.
That's so beautiful, Adriana.
Literally, I think it was me. So I don't even think it was your fault. Right before we were about to go on, I was like, fuck, I kind of wish this was canceled. I kind of wish we were done. No offense. Love both of you. I just feel like I would like to get something else taken off. And then I was like, I feel like we're actually not going to record today. And that's when I texted her and I was like, hey, this didn't make it onto your calendar, did it? And she was like, oh, fuck, no. And I was like, I fucking know it did.
So it was actually Mariah's energy you were saving. See, we never know. We don't know why
You're
things
right.
happen.
Yeah.
But there's always a reason, even if it has nothing to do with us immediately, there's always someone being saved out there by whatever decision. I believe in that fully. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to like dive into was the whole like there's so many fucking virtual communities and memberships and all of that. And I feel like when we were talking, we were just like, people are so over the language around like finding your purpose and like feeling fulfilled and all of that. And I'm kind of like, exactly, Mariah. I'm kind of over it too. Like I get it. I get the big picture, but people need to understand the magic and the mundane. It's so funny how much we keep coming back to that. I don't even think I use that copy on the sales page, but now I feel like I have to. So, but that's what it is, right? It's like we're so tired of like chasing the big things. We need to practice being more present here every day and having the tools and the people available to us that make the everyday life feel like fucking magic. So I'm dying to hear like what stuff are you sick of in the membership community space or the spiritual growth space? Don't jump at once.
Oh man, I'm just trying. I am having so many ideas of what I'm sick of, but I'm trying to like filter them through like what's appropriate to say.
Don't even
Um,
filter. Word vomit it out. I don't get easily offended.
I am in a spiritual actually, Adrienne, I think I shared this with you when we first talked. I joined a community. Oh, do you edit this, Adriana?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, there's a siren going by. Give me a
that's
minute.
okay. I don't even hear it.
That's good feedback. Do you hear my neighbor's dog howling and going crazy?
Oh, I just heard the burp burp, but no, I don't hear the dog.
Good to know. And my dogs are going crazy too. So that's good. This room has a little bit of soundproofing. I
Yes.
apologize. Okay. Um, yeah, I joined a spiritual community kind of looking for this camaraderie, I think, earlier this year. And man, I just don't even know how to say this in the right way. I am not loving it. And
I'm
there's been a lot
excited.
of
Like, what is she gonna dump out right now? Spill the tea, Shay.
I've been reflecting on like, because on paper, this community was talking about rebellion. It really piqued my interest. I curiously, intuitively, I thought I should have joined it. And I think that is true. I think I've learned some lessons. But at the end of the day, it's what's coming to me is sometimes this spiritual stuff can get very out in the clouds. It's very high level, not even high level, just like very, I can't grab it. It's not tangible. It's not grounded. In this group of women, I love them and I love being around women, but it's very high and to me ungrounded feeling. And so I think that's what like I love about people like you and Mariah. Like we're open to the magic and we love being high in the magic, but we're kind of also drawn to like the day to day, how do I do this on the day to day? And so there's just been like I was looking for community in that group, and it was kind of what I thought I wanted. And then I think what I have learned is I have a bit more clarity about the type of people I'm actually trying to be around. So I just love that groundedness. I think that's what kind of annoys me about a lot of spiritual stuff.
Yes. And I don't remember if we talked about this when I was like picking your brains about it, but that's something I very specifically said to my brand architect, my photographer. I was like, whatever does exist currently is so far on the witchy, spiritual, feminine, like hate the patriarchy side of things that I'm like, there's no fucking middle ground. It's either I believe in science or I believe in like men are bad. And that is not what I wanted here. No, but really, like that's what it is. Like there's this community that
Facts.
go ahead. Facts, yeah. There's this community that I really admire. And the reason it wasn't a good fit for me is because pretty much all of it was like fuck the patriarchy. And I get that. I do. And also like that's not the goal that I
It's
want to
not
bring.
helpful. How do I operate within my
Yeah.
day-to-day life, right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Siri just started playing Queen Herbie and or Alexa did, and it's literally like my theme song of this entire rebrand. I shit you not. That's so Alexa off. That is so crazy. It was playing during my photo shoot and everything. That's weird. Okay. So that, yes, that middle ground, that's what I wanted to bring to people, where it's not gonna feel too like some of that, the witchy groups and stuff. I definitely know, like I'm a witch, like I'm a fucking witch. I was burned at the stake before for sure. But I feel like a lot of those communities, like they're scary. They talk about stuff that makes you really fear having a negative thought, saying the word demon, like all of this. And I just don't resonate with that. I don't want people walking around their day thinking that one word they say is going to bring evil energy to them. That's not what I believe in. So that's why, like, in this community, yes, we're giving you all these tools, systems, bringing in experts. Like, my goal is to have, like, I don't know if on staff is the right word, like in-house, there we go, in-house numerologists, in-house astrologists, like all these people. But we're also doing like emotional freedom technique, breath work, somatic exercises, nervous system work, bringing both like the science and the spirituality to make it have that middle ground. Because yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, Shay, and it's just not, it's not for everyday use.
Yeah, I feel like for me, yeah, similar. I would just say it in like I just have different words to describe it essentially. But like I business and me being an entrepreneur is literally like my fucking identity. It just is. So every example that I give always really does come back to like how I see the world because it's funny because it's like my business is such a part of me because I bring me wholly like to my business. And I don't mean wholly like Holy. I mean also, yeah, cool. Like holy, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, that too. But like the W holy, like to my business and like showing up authentically. And like I don't really have like a business Mariah and like a normal Mariah. I'm just like fucking me all of the time. And I find that like usually when I'm looking for a community, I want people that understand business. And so I find myself in business communities that are so fucking like too human focused is either what it is, too human focused, where we're talking about the ROI of the, I was going to say the ROI of the STD, and that is not what I want to say.
Where was your brain going with that?
I
Is what
was trying to think of other letters to throw to like the ROI of the shmee shmer shmee, and it came out like STD, and we don't want that.
Okay.
So like they're talking too much about like the ROI and the business tactics and how do I make the money and how do
Mhm.
I grow my marketing? And I'm just like, I feel like the questions back to them are always so simple. I'm like, what do you want to do? And how do you want to do it? And people are like, it can't be that simple. And I'm just like, holy fuck. Like, are you connected to your soul, to your spirit in any capacity? It doesn't even have to look like how I'm connected to mine. So I find that business communities are usually that, or I did dabble in a couple spiritual communities, but then I was in this rabbit hole of like they were too ethereal. Like
Mhm.
everything was energy, which, yeah, obviously everything is energy, but it was just lacking that groundedness, lacking that structuredness, and there was no room to be human there. I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know, we want to eat like organic vegetables and like pray and bless our meat before we eat it and all of that because we don't want to take in all of the bad juju and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, but sometimes I'm going to eat like a fucking deep fried chicken sandwich. And like, that's just how it's going to be. So it's like finding people that like understand the business and the strategy, but from like an inner working, or like they understand spirituality, but understand that we can't hope and wish and pray without actually like putting our human body into action. I feel like that was what was really missing.
I just thought of a really good example. Mariah and I were really into a few women that were doing these classes, and this one lady was meditating like 6 to 7 hours a day. And I was just like, this is just not like, I don't know. I don't
Was
know.
her
Maybe I
life
don't.
like transformed into something magical?
She acted like it was and was teaching from
Okay.
that place, which is like my past trauma of like people talking like they know things, but they don't actually know. So that bothered me. But like the idea of just like, I don't have all day, a full shift to sit around and astral project or whatever the hell's going on. And that's cool, but like it just felt a little out of touch.
And
Yes.
also, if I wanted to spend 8 hours doing that, why would I reincarnate on Earth? Don't you think it would be easier for me to like stay an angel and do that, stay an energy being? Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I feel like that's not really my purpose here.
Yes. And so really what you're both saying is like we don't want to be put in a box and we don't want people around us who tell us we have to be put in a box. That's like everything behind anything I talk about is you get to be, I mean, I literally say I'm a walking contradiction. Like one day I'll be like looking like a punk and like my skateboard and and then the next day I'm like all full glam and someone's like, "Did you just like switch like who you are?" I'm like, "This is literally I felt like this today. Like this is me." And I love that I think what's coming through in everything that we're talking about with the etherealness of everyone else's like community and all that stuff that's available. I'm guessing it's my earth sign, my Taurus, that is coming through and being like, yeah, but how can we make this like a grounded approach that actually meets people in the middle, which I didn't put that together until you guys were just talking about it. And especially with sure, this isn't like a business group. However, a lot of the people in my world are entrepreneurs because they're very much on that hardcore personal development journey to figure out why business isn't working or why it's working, but they're miserable. So, naturally, through using these tools and through understanding your sense of spirituality and practicing with energetics, your business will start to improve. Your relationships start to improve. Everything starts to improve because you're like nurturing your soul at its core level. Do you guys have like one thing that you could really say launched you guys into this more whole, Mariah's word, holy level of you that helped successfully in business, relationships, your life in general?
Yeah, I can go first. One thing that, I've been reflecting on recently is I had really gotten at the end of the last season of our podcast, I kind of shared with everybody that I'd gotten to a place where like everything felt just like a chore. And I realized I had really gotten out of touch with what my own personal desires were, what my own wants were. I was really unclear on what I did for fun and for play in my life outside of work. I hadn't thought about that or even asked myself that question ever. So for me, what's been very healing in this season has been letting myself honestly answer that question, like, what the fuck do I want to do? Like, as silly as it may sound, and then taking the time and going to do it and letting myself have fun and play and magic. And that has allowed me to connect with my inner child and in a loving way and in a really like joyous way, and it's helped me get to know myself and trust myself a bit more. And Mariah and I have been talking about just like being these like fountains of joy, and that's who we are in life, and that's why people like to be around us. And so just allowing myself to reconnect with my joy has been awesome in healing and building trust and just kind of getting to know myself better.
Did you have any specific tools that help you reconnect to your joy?
Yeah, so the first episode this season of our podcast, I go into this quite a bit, but the two things that came through for me, one is like a kid and an adult, like a young adult, adolescent, even in college, I was going to yard sales and thrift stores and flipping things, and I loved it. I thought it was a blast. So this summer I was like, what do I do for fun? Oh, going to yard sales sounds really fun and like finding treasures. So that was it. And then the other half was I love to dance. And I don't, all my friends are married for the most part. Like I don't have an opportunity to go to weddings. There's not a lot of adult dancing
Yeah, same.
opportunities. So I've done a static dance and just felt how powerful dancing can be in connecting mind and body like that. So, my husband and I this summer have just been like putting on sunglasses and going to DJ sets around our city and like trying to like blend in with the young kids and just dancing. And that's been very fun and amazing.
It's so therapeutic. I love
Yeah.
dancing. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Good for you.
Oh, me. Okay. Can you repeat the question again?
I forget. Um,
What have you
oh,
been doing? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, what have you been, wait, no, what was the thing that you can say contributed to like you feeling holy and then contributed to the success of your business and your personal life? Like it's an evolution, but like what's one or two tools or beliefs or systems?
This is such a loaded question. Experimentation and taking note of how I feel in the moment forever, like always. And I think like reminding myself that like I get to make and break the rules is like really, really, really important to me. And like, because I can get so caught up in like looking at how other people, and we all can, looking at how other people's lives are going or like businesses are going. And then I get inspired with my open head and my open ajna. I get inspired, oh, I could do that for me. I could do that for me. And like allowing myself to like jot down the idea and like letting it go and then seeing if I still want to do it or like reflecting how certain tasks make me feel, reconnecting to like my desires and like I'm meant to build a business and to build a life that fully supports me and how I want that to be and just allowing myself to play with it truly. And I feel like I've been, I mean, for the better part of the decade, really focused on my health. And so like trying to continually deconstruct what that means for me is really, really important to me. And like, I know that it doesn't sound like play all of the time, but like letting my line one really go down like rabbit holes and like learn things and like becoming like this wealth of knowledge, but also experimenting with things and like sharing that with people. Me and my boyfriend were traveling and like living out of state for a while, and we just recently moved back home to Buffalo, New York earlier this year. And for the past 7 months, we've been waiting to move into this house that we're renting. So it was like getting remodeled. And like we were living, oh my God, girl, we were living like fucking college kids. Our mattress was on the floor. Like we had no couch. Like everything was in boxes. We thought that we were going to be able to move within 1 to 3 months. So we were like, well, why would we, decorate or like get a couch? It's just going to be a pain in the ass. It ended up being 7 months that we ended up waiting. And so we just got into the house and I feel like I can finally breathe. Like for the first time in a long time. Like I love traveling and dicking around, but like I was a gypsy, I feel like for like 2 years straight, like just popping around doing whatever I wanted and no place really felt like home until we got here. And I feel like now I'm like back with my family, which is an interesting dynamic to kind of uncover, but back with my friends too. And I feel like I came back to my friend group with a different perspective of like, not every relationship has to like meet every need that I have, and like really trying to like appreciate people for who they are and like what they bring to my life and like hosting. I think like that's how I'm bringing play into things is like business feels really fucking good for me right now. Like it just does. It feels really good. And so it's through the experimentation and the curiosity and the sitting with myself and all of that. But like now I get to play with like, what does my home life look like? What does my daily health routine look like? And like really coming back to that arena and kind of tying up some loose ends so that I can be grounded. And when I decide to turn back my focus to my business and like really grow that in a sustainable way. So I feel like it's a consistent balancing act and it sounds exhausting until you allow yourself to enjoy the journey. So I know that that's not like here's my 5 quick tips to build a life that feels good, but like it all comes back to you. And like how can you be honest with yourself and how can you experiment and like how can you just come back to what it means to live a life that feels good for you?
And
And to
it
sit
sounds
with
like for
that.
you, that first big step was having made the decision to be a rebel, to like go against societal expectations and figure out what you wanted to do.
Okay, this is where nature versus nurture comes in because I don't ever remember like going against that. It's funny that you bring that up because I was literally talking to my mom and I was like, "Can you just like tell me how I was as like a kid?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, like everybody liked you, like you were fun, whatever." And she was like, "You've always just kind of like danced to the beat of your own drum, dude. Like you've always just like done whatever you wanted." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So that's always been like a thing
Yep.
within me. And I feel like adult me, like coming back and being like, yeah, that's a gift to be able to show up and to do that and to be like an example, I would say for other people, but mainly for myself of like, look at this, everything that I've built. You know what I mean? And so, like, just that reminder and knowing that we all have that within ourselves. I'm noticing these conversations that I'm having with people. And like, that's why me and Shay fucking love the podcast. We're literally just asking people, like, yo, what's your zone of genius? And like asking them questions because we're naturally very curious people. Like, I have at any point in time 200 questions that I could ask you about anything. And so, like, that really lights us up getting to know like what fires other people up. Do you know what I mean? And so like the fact that like I don't know, we built this life, we built this podcast, we get to like have these conversations. That's so fucking cool. But I feel like it all starts from coming back to like you deserve to love your life. And what does that look like?
You absolutely do. That was like a mic drop moment. I'm like, I feel like that was that was it. You deserve to love your life. Yeah, that's what it is, especially as a woman, especially in today's society where we're very disempowered by everyone around us. You deserve to actually feel connected to yourself, to your relationships, to your job, to everything. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know we're at time, so if you have to hop off, feel free to. If you have another second, I'd love to hear if there's anything that you feel like I'm forgetting that we talked about. Cool.
I don't think so. I feel like I think the other thing, because we kind of really focused in on like the good part, right? Like you deserve to
Mhm.
love your life. And also know that it's going to be fucking heart-wrenching sometimes.
Yep.
Know that it's going to be difficult. We don't just like one day turn and face it. We're like, oh my God, I just like love my life now. No, like this is going to require you to go into the depths of your soul and the depths of your psyche and your subconscious and pull out the bullshit. And that fucking hurts and it's difficult. And like knowing that something great is on the other side, or knowing that like it's through this journey that you continue to know yourself on an even deeper level and being in community with other people that are willing to look at their bullshit too.
That's what I was gonna say. Knowing that
That's
you're not
cool.
alone right now,
Yeah.
because like I mean, Pluto's in Aquarius now, guys. Like we are literally all coming together as a community for that exact reason, Mariah. Because we're ready for that, and it's not the easiest road, and that's why we need support. Other people, everyone else wants to do this too right now. 1,000%.
So yeah, that's what I would add, where it's like it's really fucking hard. Let it be hard and like lean on your people, find your people, and know that if you haven't found your people, like they're out there. You just have to like continuously show up as you because you're naturally going to attract people, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, the community thing is what popped up. Community and relationship. As Mariah said, I think that we heal the most through relationship and finding, they say, it's so important. Who are you surrounding yourself with? And
Mhm.
getting in a community, I feel like I drop this fact all the time, but the Surgeon General last year released a report that loneliness is the worst epidemic affecting us right now. It's like equivalent if you're lonely to smoking like 3 packs of cigarettes a day on your health. And don't fact yeah, definitely fact check me, but look it up. It's interesting. I think this idea of community is cool. And one thing I have noticed, and Mariah just alluded to, one of the blessings of the online space is that we're able to find people that perhaps we can't always find in our normal
Yep.
day-to-day lives and our friend groups that are thinking and talking about these things. And that's why meeting her has been such a blessing. And even in that group, being able to have a place where you can cry and instead of somebody, oh, oh, calm down. Instead, hand you a box of tissues and say, this is an awesome place for you to cry. Like that was the most healing thing for me, is just being like seen like that and not kind of shamed for it, and seeing other people like Mariah go through it. So I just think that idea, this is a cool time we're living in where we can kind of meet people that are having these kind of rebellious thoughts and come together. And that really resonates with me.
And thank you for pointing out such a good point. Like, I live in a very small town, and if I didn't have virtual communities, I would not be nearly as far as I am now in my own healing and spiritual journey. There's no way. I just, in the past like 3 months, started finding people locally to me who were kind of on the same train. Like, one's a medium and one's Reiki, and like all this stuff just started kind of coming out of the woodwork around me. But before then, like it was extremely lonely. I didn't have places like this. And most of the time, people also live in small towns or places where they don't have a lot of people like them. Such a good point. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time, not just for this, but literally helping me birth this baby. Thank you very, very much. Where can people connect with you guys?
Well, thanks so much for having us and for allowing us to like come on the journey. It's cool when like you have people that invite you into their process and then you get to see like how their zone of genius kind of plays out. So it's been cool to witness too. Yeah, if you want to get a little bit more of me and Shay, you can check out our podcast. You can search it on any major listening platform, Curiously Guided, or head over to curiouslyguided.com. We're currently on season 5, so we have over 80 episodes for you to listen to, which like even saying that out loud is kind of like, dude, what the fuck? We created 80 episodes. That's absolute bananas. If you want to connect with me, Mariah, and learn about SEO in a way that actually feels practical and doable to help your business get found, in a way that doesn't feel so suffocating, mariahmagazine.com. You can learn all about me over there. You can check out my YouTube channel. That's like a gem for people that are just kind of like tiptoeing into the arena. You can go ahead and search Mariah Magazine on YouTube or connect with me on Instagram at Mariah Magazine CO.
And no, she does not have a magazine. I was equally as disappointed. Thank you,
Dude,
Mariah.
I am the magazine.
You sounded so good, like so chef's kiss with all of
She's
that.
got her elevator pitch, man.
You know what, girl? I started seeing a new nutritionist, like kinesiologist, I'll have to tell you about later this morning. She made me feel like a boss ass bitch. And I'm just like, I was so resistant to seeing her. But then like half of my friends, literally 3 of them, my only friends that would even like consider seeing her, saw her. And then all of them in like the past week were like, hey, are you gonna see Sarah? And I was like, okay, cool. Making me feel like a fucking $1 million. So thank you. I
Well,
think
Boss
that
Ass Bitch
related.
definitely came through. I have two online faces, both on Instagram. My human, where I share a lot of my traveling and personal life, is at Shay Hey Shay, and then my more thrifting finds will be at Sales with Shay, or you can always reach out through the podcast.
I was gonna ask if we can see all your thrifty stuff.
Yeah, that's the new adventure for this year. So excited to
Yeah.
start sharing that.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything that you have done for this community. And of course, you'll always have a spot in the Magnetic Rebellion. Should you want to actually take that route and be a part of the
We'll,
community, I would love to see you in there. Thank you
we'll be
guys.
there. Thanks for having us.
Woo!